Brodes Media.
Hey, what's happening, everyone? The Sixers are back. It's awesome to see. Before we hop into the conversation, if you're new to the channel, smash that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button as well. I greatly appreciate all the support. Second, if you're buying tickets, now that the NBA is back, the NHL is back, NFL tickets, you can utilize the promo code BRODES at SeatGeek checkout, and you will get $20 off of your purchase. SeatGeek promo code BRODES. It's a no-brainer. Also, my Twitter account, @Brodes81, that's my personal. Make sure you hit the follow button there as well. With that being said, enjoy the show. What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. There you have it. First off, before we dive into the action, of course, let me just say it was a fun night tonight. Both winter sports teams in play, right? The Flyers taking on the Bruins, the Sixers on the road against the New Orleans Pelicans. This is my favorite time of the year. You got Eagles, you got the football season, you got both winter sports teams doing their thing. So it was just one of those nights where I was in the man cave. I had candles lit. I was relaxing with a late night cup of pumpkin spice coffee. It feels like it's going to be cold outside. It feels like it's going to be fall, entering the winter time as well. I'm probably a little too premature on the winter time, but this is the best time of the year. I truly do enjoy it. So with that said, let's transition right into the greatness, and that was Furkan Korkmaz in the fourth quarter. I'm not here to hate on Furkan. We already know the story. I'm not going to waste my time with something that I've been stating for 3 years now. You will see success in the regular season with Furkan Korkmaz hitting threes that time. And quite frankly, I actually feel bad for him because he's forced in a position where he really shouldn't be. Like, he should not be running an NBA offense. He should not be a primary ball handler running the offense. And with those circumstances, I thought he did a fine job. And then he exploded and made some threes, and he was the fourth quarter to the point where he tried to put a poster down. I mean, I would have lost my damn shit if he landed that, but unfortunately, he was not able to do so. It's not an easy spot to be as a team right now. There's so much toxic turmoil happening. Go out there, ball, and do your thing. And that's why I was saying, look, it's the NBA, and it's the NBA regular season. You'll be fine beating up on teams that you should be. Even when you have a good constructed team like the Milwaukee Bucks, like the Los Angeles Lakers, like those other squads out there, the Los Angeles Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, they lose to bad teams when they have a very strong core. So even when you don't, because you lose Ben Simmons, you will still fall to these bad teams throughout an 82-game sample size. But at the end of the day, when you have Joel Embiid, the MVP of the league, when you have Tobias Harris, you still have enough firepower to take control against the Zion Williamless squad. And when they lose Josh Hart, it even puts them at more of a disadvantage. But I like the fact that they set the tone. I'm not going to say early. It was a choppy first half. I think that's probably the best way to say it. It was 53-53 at half. There was a time where Joel Embiid left the game. He was getting some of his knee. His leg worked out. He returned to the game. He was 1 for 5 with a layup. That was his only bucket once he returned to the floor. So, I mean, it wasn't like they came out right out of the gate and said, bang, let's go annihilate them. Brandon Ingram has a monster dunk. Tobias Harris responds at the end of the first half with the shot at the buzzer to tie the game up. So, you know, there was some ugliness involved. Tyrese Maxey had a really brutal first half, but then he kind of responded big time in that second half, making shots, whether it was flying to the rim or whether it was making a three-pointer. There was a 22-8 run, which really gave the Sixers a more comfortable lead. And I was interested to see, okay, how will this team respond in the fourth quarter? You're up 11, you're on the road. It's going to take time to adjust and learn and adapt one another. But I thought that Niang, you could see the difference in what he brings to the table from a floor-stretching perspective. Andre Drummond, I mean, I can't tell you that he's going to grab you 17 rebounds every single game. Here's one element, though, that I would like to change. There are times where I thought they were trying to roll through him too much offensively, and that's something that you have to iron out as you play more games. That's something you have to feel out. There's probably a big correlation with Furkan being your primary ball handler and the fact that, you know, you don't have many veterans out there at times. It can get uncomfortable with your bench lineup, you know, like your standard Matisse thigh. But let's say they run something like Furkan running the point. I think I actually have it in my phone. I wrote it down when they went to their all-bench lineup, which we are going to be accustomed to seeing. It was Isaiah Joe, Korkmaz, Matisse Thybulle, Niang, and Andre Drummond. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You have to pick and choose here. You got to pick your poison. It's not going to be anything special. It's not going to be anything sensational. But, I'm not loving the fact that that's something that you're going to rely on heavily. It's not like there's a billion options. See, now I'm starting to have to play the game of it's not as if there's 3 billion great options on the table and they are just choosing a horrendous one just because. It's going to be a pick your poison type of thing. Korkmaz running the point, running through Drummond. I mean, it's not as if Matisse Thybulle wowed me to death tonight. I saw some issues there. Now, game one, right? I'm not blowing this way too far out of proportion. I'm not telling you what this team is. I don't know what this team is. I start the season off with that somewhere in between 10 and 20 games, we'll have more knowledge. We'll have more understanding on exactly what some of their tendencies are. But we also know to a degree based off of last season, we know how Tobias Harris likes to play. We know how Embiid likes to play. In that first half, I thought he settled for some jump shots, and there were some nice passes involved, though, when the double team happened. They were running through Embiid. He found Tobias Harris. His vision is something that he stresses and emphasizes all the time, where he knows that teams are going to put pressure on him and basically try and take the ball out of his hands where, okay, anyone but, right? The anyone but method. Anyone but Joel Embiid. Well, then it's on Embiid to find his open teammates, and you can tell the difference. It's night and day what the spacing aspect of the floor does without Mr. 2-5 out there who causes a lot of issues from a schematic standpoint. Now, you're going to have certain areas of the game lack, right? Defensively, there is a drop-off on the perimeter defense. I love Matisse Thybulle, but there's a different type of beast in a 6'10 body frame in Ben Simmons. Even though Joel Embiid is still protecting the rim and he is someone who can solidify that paint area very smoothly and he helps out tremendously, you're going to lose a lot of pop there. And in the open transition game where the floor is wide open, that's Ben Simmons' bread and butter. You'll operate better in the slow down game. In the half-court offense, it will absolutely be better from that perspective. But, you just have to recognize that as you play these regular season games. And that's what the regular season's all about, really, is LA fitness, not too much defense. Although I saw Isaiah Joe with a charge there, and he didn't have his sharpest game, and unfortunately he went down, but it was nice to see him return. He's going to need some run. He's going to get some run because his team is going to need him. So, I'm just curious as we study who this team is, and Friday night it's a big test at home against the Brooklyn Nets, so a way better team, a way more talented team. How do these younger kids respond? How does Maxey respond? A handful of years ago, not that I really want to continue to bring up this guy's name, but it was about that journey of how does he grow, how does he develop, and you knew that there was a timeline, even though he doesn't believe so. Apparently, we did not give him any room to grow, which is just absolute nonsense. We are now having to apply that same logic, though, to Tyrese Maxey, Isaiah Joe, and even Furkan in this new role that he's in, right? So there's a lot of different players that have to continue to kind of take that step. And as we're recording this, I want to hear from the head coach, Doc Rivers, after the game, just to get a couple different, thoughts on what the coach had to say. I don't know if I see any quotes yet from him. Okay, hold on. Let me go to Rich Hoffman of The Athletic. Doc Rivers was asked about Kevin Durant in preparation for Friday's opener. My first thought is, oh, shit. That's funny. I don't blame him. I'd be saying the same exact thing if I'm Doc Rivers. And then, by the way, there's somebody else named James Harden as well. Let's see here. Is that the only quote that really was thrown around after the game? I guess not too much, huh? Okay. All right. I ain't too worried about it anyway. I was just curious on what the approach was going to be from him and some of his thoughts after the game, but I guess it really wasn't anything mind-blowing. Danny Green, tough 0 for 1 was his day. 3 fouls. But if you remember last year, he started off in a spot as well where he It started out slow. Everyone was really down on him. Oh, Danny Green's bad. Danny Green's bad. No, he's not bad. Just relax. He's a veteran, and he's been around the block. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. He does rub me the wrong way just personality-wise based off of all of his comments about Ben and his comments towards the fans. I'm rooting for him to succeed, obviously, but there's something, when someone just does something to you and it always rubs you the wrong way and you'll never get it out of your mind. It's constantly there where, you put it behind you because you're going to be the bigger person and you won't let that impact your life forever. You'll put it behind you, but you won't forget about it. With Danny, that's something that's going to constantly roll through my head, is just the way that he handled the fan base in years past and the way that he's handling the Ben Simmons stuff. It's almost as if, he's saying that Ben Simmons is fine with the way that he plays the game. Nope, no. And once again, here we are. We're 10 minutes into talking about the first game, X's and O's, and you're finally seeing the product on the court. But whether it's right or wrong, it naturally will still find its way into Ben Simmons' conversation, which truly upsets me because it shouldn't be the case. But in that third quarter, getting back to some of the action, there was a stretch where Joel Embiid started the second half off making 3 jumpers. Maxey with nice bucket. Tobias Harris using his muscles. Strong take. Seth Curry uses the glass. Timeout by New Orleans. The Sixers go up 7. And then, the fourth quarter, 11 points, up 11. How do you respond? And you're going to see some bench lineups. You'll see some bench guys. So, can you stay firm? Don't let it slip. You're on the road. You want to start the season off right. And you kind of want to make a statement, too, of, hey, fellas, let's go. And I talked about the togetherness, the brotherhood. There is a real concept here of all this nonsense and all this nonstop action being talked about us national sports-wise all over the country right now. Fuck them. Honestly, fuck them. There is that attitude towards everyone outside the locker room that brings the cohesiveness together of, we're going to prove them wrong. We're going to go out there and we're going to ball. And you know what? I loved something that Joel Embiid said after the game when he was getting interviewed by Kate Scott, who did a beautiful job calling her first regular season action here, taking over for Mark Zumoff. I can't wait to watch her career grow here in this city because I know we're just going to absolutely love her. She's a pro's pro. Talking about, even though the game was over towards the end, keep up the intensity, keep up the defense. For the guys who want to be here, I know the game was out of reach and the score was what it was, but do not let your foot off the gas. You keep going, you keep attacking, and it's just the different mentality. It's the right mentality. It's the right approach. I know it's little, it's simple, and maybe some people didn't even catch it or it went right over their head when they heard it, but there's a level of just the growth of who Joel Embiid has become here and the way that he has taken everything surrounding this league, the all-star games that he's made, and learning from LeBron, learning from KD, learning from all these athletes when he was very new to the game, very raw to the game, had all this untapped potential, being around the superstars, being around the right atmosphere, being around the right athletes, and applying it to who Joel Embiid wants to be. It's just those teaching moments, and now him teaching the young core, which is going to be a big part of this season. How is he going to help Tyrese Maxey adapt? How is he going to help all these others? You understand how, and you can apply this to your own personal stories as athletes. I know when I was playing hockey, before I took that next step to go play junior hockey, I would sit on the bench and I would watch the kids on my team that were committed to Penn State, committed to Colgate, committed to Princeton, committed to UMass Lowell, all these schools that are Division I. It's like, wow, there's something about studying what they do, how they work in the gym, how they work after practice, all those little details that they stress so much. It put it in perspective of what it takes to be that next tier athlete. And Joel is doing that, which then Isaiah Joe and Tyrese Maxey and all the athletes that are wired the right way, which is majority of the ones in the NBA. Unfortunately, there's one stale individual that's still sitting in this franchise that just can't wrap his damn head around it. And if he did, the ceiling is so high. But I'm sorry. I'm actually upset with myself. I'd be lying if I told you that I'm not. Right now, I'm actually really disappointed that this is happening, but I can't help it. It's just natural flow in conversation. But I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. There was a time in this game where I was worried and upset about the lack of three-point attempts that were taken. In this league, it's a bang the three type of lead. or league. I mean, it's not really that difficult. There are times where you can honestly just go look at the box score and see who made the most threes, and there is a correlation with winning brands of basketball when that is the case. And if you're not taking that many, there is sometimes a concern where you're not going to score enough points. But as the game went on, it really came down to that second half and just going back into the locker room, recognizing it's tied. It wasn't pretty. It could be a lot worse. There were some big stretches that I was uncomfortable with, a couple solid runs by New Orleans. You had to stop the bleeding defensively. You had to be sharper. You couldn't turn the ball over as much. Like, hey, there were a couple times like, what's happening here? Turnovers on both sides, but come on, Sixers, clean it up. The fact that it was halftime and they went in there and came out with a new approach and they just settled in from there and really took the game from New Orleans. You were down some players for sure. You can't rule that out of the equation. But at the same time, you look at the scoring. Tyrese Maxey, 20 points. Joel Embiid, 22 points. Furkan Korkmaz, 22 points. Tobias Harris, 20 points. Now, with Toby, I wouldn't say that it was anything magnificent, but it was just your solid structure, Toby, where maybe some awkward, uncomfortable moments early. And like I said, it's game one of the season. But I think we know who Tobias Harris is at this point. There are times where maybe it's not the most electric night in the world, but he finds spurts to be solid. He finds moments to have a nice couple buckets, and then he finishes with 20 and 12. So you don't sit there afterwards, you go, I'm overwhelmed with what Tobias Harris did, but he gave you that Tobias Harris type of night, and I think tonight somewhat, honestly, perfectly describes what that is. So, I'm fascinated with this team's growth, and I'm really interested just to see how they continue to grow. You're watching at times early on, Andre Drummond with some wild takes, and he leaves the air, and you have no idea what he's going to do with the ball. But there's also times where he wows you, right? I saw this sequence of Matisse Thybulle gets a steal. He passes it to Tyrese Maxey, who is moving the ball in transition and pushing the pace, and he tries to throw it up, kiss it off the glass. It ends up being wild and really ugly, and that was during the stretch of settling for jumpers and Embiid going 1 for 5 when he returned. So, it was just like a really awkward stretch for the Sixers, and you would expect it to change and not be like that for a full 48 minutes. And of course, that's kind of how it all played out. It changed from there, but just nice to have the team back. I'll say that. Nice to actually have basketball to talk about, even though we know the one thing isn't going away. I'll tell you what else isn't going away. DraftKings Sportsbook. They give you so many opportunities to win so much money. NFL fans hungry for a big win this weekend. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game. And if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also get skin in the game with new same-game parlays. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code Brodes this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I'm a little surprised by the lack of quotes flying around from Doc Rivers after the game. I guess he really did not say too much. I'm seeing quotes from Furkan now, so some of the players are getting out there, but yeah, I didn't get an opportunity to sit down and listen to him fully speak after the game because I know I had a long night ahead of me of talking about the Flyers' 6-3 win over the Boston Bruins for their nice start to the season, and then this as well. But what we're going to do at this moment is hear from you, the Anytime Hotline. If you don't know about it, the phone number is 856-442-9805. It is available 24/7. You can call in, leave your reactions to games. I love hearing from you to kind of see where your head's at, your emotions are at after games happen. And of course, the Anytime Hotline is brought to you by Orbit Energy and Power. With over 20 years of industry experience, Orbit Energy and Power is home to your solar experts in both residential and commercial projects. At Orbit, they also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, electrical upgrades, new roofs, heating and cooling, and so much more. So make sure you check out their information at orbitenergy.us or call 800-836-3987. All right, let's play your calls right now. Here we go.
What's up, Brodes? Great win to start the season for the Sixers. Made it look relatively easy. Korkmaz took a huge step up. And in my opinion, it's very important for the Sixers team to get off to a good start to the season. They got to show that this drama is not affecting them. They got to show that they're banding together as a team, and they don't want to give ammunition to the idiot Ben stands who are going to be like, "Oh, the Sixers are nothing without Ben." If we start all like 2-3, or like 3-3 to start the year, we got to shut that noise down immediately, and they did tonight. And I can't wait to see what happens on Friday.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested as well to see what happens when a powerful team comes to town. And you know what? If they lose, I mean, it doesn't matter too much. It's not going to tell you everything you need to know. It's a nice test early. If the Sixers can punch them in the jaw, it would be a very pleasant surprise. I'm not going in with the biggest expectations in the world of full dominance, but it wouldn't be nice to see, what do we see out of Joel Embiid in that type of atmosphere on his own with Tobias, without Ben, against that type of firepower. But, in terms of shutting up the haters or shutting up the supporters, it really does seem the only supporters out there are ones that are not in touch on everything that's going on. I got a good buddy of mine who lives in Albany, New York, and I believe I told this story on Coffee with Brodes this morning. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my damn mind, but he sent me pretty much a couple people that said the Sixers fans are ridiculous. They're being too hard on Ben because Doc threw Ben under the bus. Joel threw Ben under the bus. The fan base was not calm for him, and it's like you're literally leaving out 95% of the details that you just don't get from being so far removed and so far outside. Sometimes it's a good thing. And I'll actually bring up Corey Seidman, who covers the Phillies. And I know that might sound random, but he responded to someone talking about this issue. And he said a lot of the times outside opinions can be beneficial because we're all too close to the situation. But in this case, a lot of people who are just showing they don't understand what's happening here over a period of years. There's so much. There's like 5 years worth of stuff to go over with this Ben Simmons stuff. So, the point is a lot of this national media attention, one, is to create controversy because it's good for ratings and good for conversation that people are interested in that debate format. Not that they're very good at it. It's just what draws attention. And two, it's a lot of this outside noise that have not truly been invested in all of it, which gives them faulty feel. Is a 3-3 start or a 2-2 start? I don't know. I'm just looking at it as the first 5 games, 6, 7, 8 games of a NBA season. It truly doesn't tell you exactly. We go into there's a reason why. I guess here's my point to kind of switch gears on it. There's a reason why when we enter the NBA season, especially years ago, you could bet on Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Golden State Warriors in the finals or the rest of the field, right? You basically know who's going to be that top of the top of the top in the NBA prior to the season beginning. And right now, sure, the Sixers are a question mark, and that's why they're more intriguing because of all the storylines. But if you start 3-3 and you're the Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, do you question if they're still an NBA championship caliber team? No, not really. And I understand how this is a totally different circumstance, but I'm just saying that's why I say like the first 10 games or so, even if you do have a slower record to start the season, it doesn't truly necessarily tell you everything you need to know. But you're right. People would then say, oh, Ben Simmons was that important. And at the end of the day, I mean, he does result to winning regular season games. That was never the problem with him. And here we go again. I'm very upset that this constantly keeps happening, but it's not going to go anywhere. And that's why we mentioned from the offseason, if you're Daryl Morey, it's going to be difficult because if you hold on to him to wait for the compensation that you're looking for, which I don't disagree with, it will come with this sidebar. Whether you're trying to do it or not, it naturally occurs because at the end of the day, it's still all there. It's that black cloud that consistently will follow this team, whether there's wins or losses. So, all right, what's next?
It's always good to see the Sixers win. You'd rather see them win than lose. It's good to see Isaiah Joe get some run, Furkan Korkmaz do his thing, Tyrese Maxey definitely got some flow in the second half out there. But, none of it really matters until Ben Simmons is traded, and I just think it's kind of hard to take the games that they play seriously until he is traded. So, good win. You'd rather see them win than lose. You'd rather see their players play well, but just know that doesn't really mean anything.
No, that's a strange take. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you there. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I'm enjoying the Sixers game. I think it's just weird because it's game one. You got to get into rhythm. You got to get into your groove. You got to understand the identity of the team. And I find value in watching them to learn what that identity is. But to say that none of this matters at all until he's gone, I mean, that's not necessarily true whatsoever. I mean, nobody's sitting here claiming that this is an NBA championship caliber team, but that also doesn't mean that there's no joy in the fight. There's no pride in what Joel Embiid is. He's taking the complete opposite approach of, this is my city, this is my home, these are the people that I love, and I will put every inch of sweat on the floor for you. I will entertain you. I will give you all of my effort. 3,000% will be left out there on the floor. That still matters to me. Whether they're going to win a championship or not, I don't see that being the case with their with their current construction. It's not properly completed right now, but that doesn't mean I'll just bottle everything up and then just toss it into the trash, because there is legitimacy to who some of these players are, that even when that trade does happen, those players still matter. Who they are and how they grow, and if they're that matters. Learning how to win matters. Fourth quarter up 11. Let's find a way to get this victory on the road. That matters even when there is a trade and you bring in whoever it is that's new to your team. That doesn't mean, well, Isaiah Joe still matters, and when Shake Milton returns, he still matters, and Tyrese still matters. So all of them still matter. And you mentioned Isaiah Joe. He definitely did not have his greatest performance. I'm sure he'll bounce back as he continues to grab more minutes. But Tyrese in that second half, he just added another layer to his game. He felt more confident. He was making his shots. I thought he soared to the rim a little bit better, and he took his shot. There's a difference in catching and shooting threes and then shooting off the dribble when I watch Tyrese Maxey. So that's definitely something that I'm going to be studying a lot more. I don't know how comfortable he feels catching and shooting compared to having that rock in his hands and all, but it's incredible the difference in spacing as a whole. I will admit that.
Let's talk about my man, Ben Simmons, a.k.a. the Princess Bride. For all I care about, he could say David Buster's and bitch and complain about how he's not playing anymore, but we don't need him anymore. This team was really fun to watch tonight. It doesn't hurt to go 50% from the three and from the field goal percentages, but overall, I think we're going to have a new identity. We're going to go through Embiid and, God forbid, have open lanes to play 5-on-5 basketball. It was great to see Maxey just slice and dice to that defense that we all wish that Ben could do, but great win. Can't wait to see what this team is going to go next.
That is definitely one area of concern, especially with your backcourt. We've seen Seth Curry get exposed defensively. We've seen Danny Green, just due to his age, take a step back, which makes a lot of sense compared to where he was once in his prime, of course, on that end of the floor. So that's naturally going to dip, and Tyrese Maxey's not going to be able to hang, and Furkan Korkmaz is a liability. That's why I really hope Isaiah Joe can really bang the threes and knock them down, because he can bring you that different element to the 3 and D spacing side of things. Like, you're going to have an issue on that side. But, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm right there with you in terms of just, it was fun. It was a fun watch, and it was enjoyable, and it still matters. So I like the approach that you had with it more than the second caller, with all due respect. But that's what this is here for. It's just to get your thoughts right afterwards. I just thought that was a bit of a interesting one, an eyebrow raiser. Running through Embiid, no doubt about it. You got a lot of spacing on the floor, but once it gets down to the nitty-gritty, right, teams are going to try and force the rock out of his hand to say, beat me with Niang, beat me with Furkan, beat me with Shake Milton, beat me with Tyrese Maxey. And some nights it might be successful, other nights it might not, right? I mean, they're going to do their best job of doubling Joel. And that's why, when people speak about Ben Simmons and him needing his own team and him just operating as the floor general that can facilitate and just have a bunch of spacers around him that can shoot, that sounds great in theory. But what happens when it's fourth quarter and that's what you're relying on? You're relying on a bunch of role players instead of your superstar, where and I'm talking more about like the big picture, right? Let's go back to last year's playoffs. Kevin Durant isolation ball, go get me a bucket. Now, the Nets were extremely injured. But let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. Give the ball to Giannis, go get a bucket. Give the ball to Chris Middleton, operate in the half-court offense, create a bucket, create separation, go score. You score and win because your superstars are battling. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying more of like the big picture percentage-wise. You got to be able to operate through your big man. And if your mindset's going to be, well, if they're going to take away Joel, let's just hope that role players can make shots consistently enough to beat teams down. I don't know if that's a recipe for success for long term. It might be what you have to do right now due to circumstances and due to what you have on your roster and all. I'm just saying more of, is that an identity that truly works? Let's take away Embiid, limit him to 20 points, 22 points, and then have role players be your offense. Teams would live with that 100 out of 100 times. So it'll just be fascinating. And look, I'm not telling you it's easy to stop Joel Embiid by any means. It's not easy. It's very difficult. He can get his buckets. All right, let's take one more.
Pop the Furkan Korkmaz. Pop the Furkan Korkmaz.
What the hell was that? What the hell was that? I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm lost. I don't know. I think that's where we got to end it here. I apologize. That just threw me in for a loop, and I don't even know what direction to go from here. So with that, we're going to shut it down. Whew. All right. With that, we're going to shut it down. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Sports Talk with Brodes, and I will see you next time.